With this latest news story of India and the launch of this rocket for exploration of the moon's south pole, just like all other nations, the US, Russia, and China, it's the same story, same script, just run by different countries. And of course, for those that are awake, they'll understand, they'll know all these countries are working together as one to deceive the masses. Let's get right to it.
Start with a historic mission to the moon and the launch of India's Chandrayaan 3 spacecraft. This is the moment that it took off just under an hour ago. It entered Earth's orbit shortly after. It's India's second attempt at a lunar landing, and if it's successful, the craft will deploy a rover near the moon's south pole next month, and India will become only the fourth country behind the US, the former Soviet Union, and China to manage a controlled lunar.
Now take a listen to what this woman says here during this interview with BBC, and as always, the mockery in plain sight.
See, when we look at NASA's, the budgets run into hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, whereas the Chandrayaan ones are doing it for $75 million, something like that. We spend more on making movies.
And like so many of these news stories, the mention of movies is brought up because that's what you're watching, literally a movie. Obviously, these so-called rockets do not go into space. Just like in Florida and Cape Canaveral, they just dump off into the Atlantic Ocean. Just as you see here in the Bermuda Triangle region, I mentioned this before in previous videos, this is why they give Bermuda Triangle a bad stigma. They don't want people snooping around, looking around, deep sea diving, and find what they're not supposed to find. And that would be rockets from NASA that are dumped right in that location. And also when it comes to the ESA in France, with French Guiana, let's get a little bit of a close-up. The same thing with Florida, exactly the same, where they just dump off rockets right into the southern Atlantic. And also here with India, the same exact principle, where they launch off the east coast and it goes straight in the Bay of Bengal. Same exact principle, as I stated earlier, with NASA and the European Space Agency. And as I stated many times in the past, there's always these Masonic fingerprints all over the place with their news stories. They always put their signature on what they create. Example here, and they use very large channels on YouTube, as you see here. Nearly 7 million subscribers to Get Science, Fly Science, with the supposed launch to the moon with the Chandrayaan 3. And one thing I want to mention, Chandrayaan means moon in northern Indian, and Yaan means craft or vehicle. So literally it translates to moon craft or moon vehicle. But nonetheless, this particular video has 2.3 million views. And again, the Masonic fingerprints, as always, in this clip from the channel owner itself. No doubt working with the inside. Take a listen to what he says here.
Equally challenging भी होने वाला है, क्योंकि सबसे पहले तो मून पर सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग करना ना मार्स पर सॉफ्ट लैंडिंग करने से भी ज्यादा मुश्किल है. एंड यस, वही मार्स जिस पर मून के कंपैरिजन में 33 टाइम्स ज्यादा क्रेटर्स.
So you just saw that. I'll back it up here. You know, again, the Masonic fingerprints, comparing the moon to Mars and stating how Mars has 33 times the amount of craters than the moon. They gotta fit in that 33, and of course the orange color itself for 33. And getting back to NASA, just like Kennedy Space Center with the runway number 33 and Kennedy itself being 33 in Pythagorean numerology. So again, this is very important for people to understand. They put their signature, they put their stamps behind all their productions. Here's another example from a very large YouTube channel in India from this one individual doing the obvious 666 sign, wearing the red and blue. It's kind of hard to see the red, but the outline is red and blue for purple. But take a look at the channel name here. As you see, Flying Beast, just like Mr. Beast in the US. Nearly 8 million subscribers. These individuals are obviously pushing the propaganda. And make no mistake about it, when he's showing the 666 sign and his name is Flying Beast, definitely promoted and put out there to push the propaganda. Just like I showed with the other individual, the 3 times the amount of craters on Mars and the moon. Make no mistake, the 33. And like I showed here with this individual with the 666. Make no mistake, this is by design. And let's continue on here.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Just like SpaceX, no difference. You have a bunch of cheerleaders, like a bunch of girls at a Backstreet Boy concert cheering this on. And you're going to see here as this rocket, which obviously does not go into space, it takes the arc, and I'm going to mention this as you see the rocket ascend. Take a look here. And they're going to make that excuse, of course. It's making its low Earth orbit before supposedly going to outer space, making its way to the moon. If that was the case, why don't people on the other side of the ball Earth see the rocket? And there you go there. I'm going to pause right there. So supposedly, again, this rocket is making its low Earth orbit, basically going around the so-called ball Earth as you see here. And again, why don't we ever get footage from other people on the so-called ball Earth before the rocket makes its way into deep space? We never get that because obviously, like I said earlier, these rockets obviously do not go into outer space, as I showed earlier here. With this one still, they just dump in the ocean. That very simple. And if India was truly going to the moon, as they state, why don't they simply put a camera on the moon so we can see the so-called ball Earth spinning from a 24-hour cam stationed on the moon for all to see? They don't do that because they can't. They've never been to the moon. The US, Russia, China hasn't been to the moon either. And that's what people understand. There's no evidence of so-called moon landings, explorations. All we get is cartoon renderings. We get a rocket launch and no actual evidence that these rockets go to the moon.
Why are you sitting in your chair today? Does gravity pull you to the floor? No. There is no such thing as gravitational pull. We lied to you.
First of all, we are born scientists. When we're born, we wonder what's out there. We begin to wonder about the sun, life, the stars, what makes the oceans, the weather. We're born scientists. And then something happens. When we hit the danger years of junior high school and high school, that's when it's literally crushed out of us.
Those are the worst.
Every little flower of curiosity, said Einstein, is crushed by society itself. Because we have to learn all these facts, figures, memorization, we think that memorization is science. And that's not true at all.
One thing I really want your generation to embrace is that the Earth is a closed system. We cannot leave the Earth. There's no place to go.
Human action resounds in the heavens. The bell echoes above. What we decide here today will polish or crack the firmament. What shall it be? Human action resounds in the heavens. The bell echoes above. What we decide here today will polish or crack the firmament.
Been lied to by textbooks, and that dude who jumped out of a perfectly good balloon, what's his name? Felix Baumgartner. He would have been about 2 millimeters above the surface of this globe. That's his edge of space jump. Now, you know, I don't. It's fine. He wants to. I don't have a problem if he does it, but the honesty of it would greatly diminish what I think people thought he was actually doing. And not only that, they made sure to photograph him standing there with a really wide-angle lens, which curves horizontal lines. Right. So in the photo, you see this curvature of Earth's surface, and he said, "Wow, he's in space. Look at that." No, he's not. At that height, you don't see the curvature of the Earth if you are 2 millimeters above this beach ball. You just don't. That stuff is flat. That stuff is flat. That stuff is flat. You've been lied to by textbooks.
The question is, through your career and your writing and your acting, you've inspired so many people to enter the sciences. How do you balance science with science fiction?
They're both the same. Science and science fiction are essentially the same.
Thank you very much.
Mission Control, I've got some news for you. It's gonna shock you, so you better sit down. Listen very carefully. The Earth is flat, gentlemen.
I can hear machinery blinding me with science.